The dust on Keth 4 tasted like iron and old blood. Una stood in the center of the fighting pit, her boots sinking slightly into the packed dirt. Around her, hundreds of aliens pressed against the metal barriers. They screamed and roared in languages she did not understand, but she understood their meaning. They wanted violence. They wanted death. She was happy to give them one of those things. The crime lord Gravik stood across from her. He was massive. His body was covered in thick green scales that looked like armor. Two curved tusks grew from his lower jaw, each one as long as her forearm. His arms were thick with muscle. His hands ended in claws that could tear through steel. He laughed when he saw her. The sound was deep and ugly. "The Coalition sends a human female?" he said. His voice echoed through the arena. "And she carries no weapon?" Una said nothing. She simply stood there, her hands loose at her sides. She wore no armor. She carried no gun. She had nothing but her body, and her training. The crowd grew quiet. They sensed something strange. This human did not look afraid. She looked empty. Gravik stopped laughing. He tilted his massive head and studied her with yellow eyes. "You wish to die," he said slowly. "I can smell it on you." Una finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "Many have tried to kill me. You can see that I am still here." Gravik roared and charged. He was fast for his size. His claws cut through the air toward her throat. But Una was faster. She stepped to the side, her movement smooth like water. Her hand shot out and struck his elbow joint. The crack was loud. Gravik stumbled, his arm hanging wrong. He spun and swung with his other arm. She ducked under it. Her fist drove into his ribs. Once, twice, 3 times. Each blow landed in the exact same spot. She felt the bones break under her knuckles. Gravik fell to one knee. Blood dripped from his mouth. His eyes were wide with shock. No one had ever hurt him like this. No one had ever moved like this. "What are you?" he gasped. Una grabbed his injured arm and twisted. The shoulder popped out of its socket. Gravik screamed. She released him and stepped back. He collapsed face first into the dust. The arena was silent. Every alien stared at the human female who had just destroyed their undefeated champion with her bare hands. Una walked to the platform, where Gravik had displayed his treasures. She picked up the 3 data cores that belonged to the Coalition. She put them in her bag. Then she walked out of the arena. No one tried to stop her. 3 hours later, she sat in the medical bay of the starship Starfall. Dohan, the ship's medic, wrapped bandages around her bruised knuckles. He worked in silence for a long time. His face was troubled. "You did not need to fight him like that," Dohan finally said. "We had a plan." Talis was ready to provide backup. Commander Rivik had negotiators standing by. "The plan was too slow," Una replied. "My way was faster. Your way was dangerous." Una looked at her hands. The bruises were already turning purple. "I am still alive." Dohan set down the bandages. He looked at her with eyes full of worry. They had known each other for 6 years. They had served together on 3 different ships. He knew her better than anyone else in the galaxy. "Una," he said quietly, "what happened on Station Koryo changed you. I understand that. But lately, you take risks that make no sense. You refuse weapons. You refuse armor. You go into fights alone when you do not need to." Una stood up. "I complete my missions. That is what matters. What matters is that you come back alive." She walked to the door and stopped. For a moment, she seemed like she might say something. But then the moment passed. She left without another word. In the command center, Commander Rivik watched the recording from the arena. He was tall and thin, with a body covered in hard black shell. 4 compound eyes reflected the images on the screen. His species did not show emotion on their faces, but his voice was troubled. "She finished the fight in 43 seconds, he said. "She broke 6 of his bones and dislocated 2 joints. She did all of this with her bare hands." Talis stood beside him. The Valkyrie warrior had 4 arms crossed over his chest. His mandibles clicked slowly as he watched. Humans are known for their endurance and adaptability, but this female's something else. She fights like she has already accepted death. Rivik turned off the recording. "That is what concerns me. Should we remove her from combat missions?" The commander was quiet for a long moment. "No, she is too valuable. But watch her closely, and tell Dohan to keep trying to reach her." Talis nodded and left. Rivik stood alone in the dark room. He had commanded many soldiers over the years. He had seen warriors of every species, but he had never seen anyone fight like Yuna. There was no fear in her, no hesitation, no desire for survival. She fought like someone who was already dead, and somehow that made her the most dangerous warrior he had ever known. In her small cabin, Yuna sat in the darkness. She did not turn on the lights. She did not need them. She simply sat and stared at the wall and remembered the faces of everyone she had failed to save. Station Koryo, her entire platoon. 37 soldiers. 37 friends. All dead. All gone. And she had walked out alone. Why her? Why did she survive when better people died? She did not know. And until she found the answer, she would keep fighting. She would keep bleeding. She would keep walking into danger with her bare hands and her broken heart. Maybe one day, the universe would finally give her the death she deserved. Until then, there was always the next fight. The cargo hold of the Starfall was cold and quiet. Yuna liked to train there when the ship was traveling between stars. No one bothered her. No one asked questions. She could hit the practice dummy for hours until her hands bled and her mind went silent. But today was different. Today, Talis was waiting for her. The Valkyrie warrior stood in the doorway. His forearms were folded across his chest. His large eyes watched her with an expression she could not read. His mandibles clicked slowly, which meant he was thinking hard about something. Yuna stopped hitting the dummy. "Do you need something?" Talis walked toward her. He was much taller than her. His body was covered in hard brown shell. His people were warriors. They respected strength above everything else. In the months since Yuna joined the Starfall crew, Talis had watched her fight many times. He had seen her do impossible things. "I have a question," Talis said. "Ask it. Why do you refuse to use weapons?" Yuna wiped the sweat from her face. "Weapons can fail. My hands cannot. That is not the real reason." She looked at him sharply. "What do you think the real reason is?" Talis was silent for a moment. His mandibles clicked faster. "My people have a word for warriors like you. We call them the Hollow Ones. They are fighters who have lost something important. Something inside them has died. They go into battle not to win, but to find an ending." Yuna's face showed nothing. "That is an interesting story." "It is not a story. It is what I see when I watch you fight." Talis stepped closer. His voice became softer. "You fight well, Yuna. Better than anyone I have ever seen. But you fight like someone who does not expect to live. I have watched many Hollow Ones over the years. They all died young. Everyone dies eventually. Yes, but not everyone runs toward death with open arms." Yuna picked up her bag and walked past him. "I have work to do." Talis did not try to stop her. He simply watched her go with sadness in his ancient eyes. In the medical bay, Dohan sat alone at his desk. The room was dark, except for the glow of his communication screen. He had spent the last hour trying to decide if he should make this call. Now, finally, he pressed the button. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She had short black hair and tired eyes. Her name was Yong, and she worked at Coalition headquarters. She and Yuna had trained together many years ago. "Doan," Jiyoung said. "It has been a long time. Is something wrong? I need your help." "It is about Yuna." Jiyoung's expression changed. She leaned forward. "What happened?" Dohan told her everything. The way Yuna fought without weapons. The way she took dangerous missions alone. The way she seemed to welcome pain and injury. The empty look in her eyes that appeared after Station Koryo. Jiyoung listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "I can send you part of her psychological file," Jiyoung finally said. "I am not supposed to do this, but I am worried about her too. Please." A few minutes later, the file appeared on his screen. Dohwan opened it with shaking hands. The words hit him like punches to the chest. Survivor's guilt following the Station Koryo incident. All 37 members of her platoon were killed. Subject was the only survivor. Psychological evaluation shows escalating risk-seeking behavior. Subject may be experiencing passive death wish masked as tactical aggression. Recommend immediate intervention and counseling. Dohwan read the file 3 times. Then he deleted it. He sat alone in the dark for a long time. He had known that Yuna was hurting, but he had not understood how deep the wound went. She was not fighting to protect others. She was fighting to die. Every battle was her way of asking the universe to finish what Station Koryo started, and he had no idea how to save her. The next morning, Commander Rivik called a meeting in the command center. The entire senior crew gathered around the holographic display table. Rivik's compound eyes moved slowly as he looked at each of them. "We have received a new mission from Coalition Command," he said. "A Dominion slave transport ship is traveling through neutral space. It is carrying over 70 captured colonists from the outer settlements. Men, women, and children." The hologram showed an image of the ship. It was massive and ugly, covered in weapons and armor. "The ship is called the Blackthorn," Rivik continued. "It will reach Dominion space in 48 hours. Once it crosses the border, we cannot help those people. We must act now." Talish studied the image. "This is a heavily guarded vessel. What is our plan of attack?" "The Coalition cannot officially send a fleet into neutral space. Political reasons. But they can send one small ship with a small crew." Rivik looked around the table. "We are that ship. We must board the Blackthorn, free the prisoners, and escape before Dominion reinforcements arrive." The room was quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The mission was extremely dangerous. Many things could go wrong. Some of them might not come back. "I will lead the boarding team," Yuna said. Everyone turned to look at her. She had spoken before anyone else could volunteer. Daohan felt his heart sink. Of course she volunteered. This was exactly the kind of mission she wanted. High risk, little chance of survival. A perfect opportunity to die. Commander Rivik studied her for a long moment. His compound eyes showed nothing, but his voice was careful. "You will not go alone. Talus will accompany you. I work better alone." "That is not a request, Yuna. It is an order." Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Finally, Yuna nodded. "Understood, Commander." The meeting ended. The crew scattered to prepare for the mission. But Doan remained behind. He watched Yuna walk away and felt helpless. She was walking toward death again, and he did not know how to stop her. All he could do was pray that this time she would choose to come back. The Blackthorn was a ship made of darkness and suffering. Its metal walls were stained with years of blood and tears. The air inside smelled like fear and death. Thousands of prisoners had traveled through its corridors. Most of them never saw freedom again. Yuna crawled through a narrow maintenance shaft, her body pressed against coal pipes. Do-Hwan's voice crackled softly in her earpiece. 46 guards on thermal scan, he said from the shuttle waiting outside. They are spread across 4 decks. The prisoners are being held in Cargo Bay 3, near the center of the ship. Understood. Yuna. His voice became worried. Please use the stun charges. You do not need to kill everyone. She did not respond. She reached the end of the shaft and dropped silently into a dark corridor. 2 guards stood 20 meters ahead. They were large reptilian creatures with armor and plasma rifles. They did not see her coming. She moved like a shadow. Her hand closed around the first guard's throat before he could make a sound. She squeezed. He fell. The second guard turned at the noise, but she was already there. Her palm struck his face. His head snapped back. He collapsed beside his partner. Neither of them made a sound. Yuna continued forward. More guards appeared. More guards fell. She broke arms and crushed throats. She twisted necks and shattered knees. Her movements were smooth and fast, like a dance made of violence. Do-Hwan watched the thermal signatures disappear one by one. His hands gripped the console so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Yuna, you are approaching the main security station. There are 12 guards inside. Talus is ready to create a distraction on the outer hull. Wait for a signal. No time. Yuna, wait. She kicked open the door. The guards turned toward her with surprise on their faces. They reached for their weapons, but she was already among them, a storm of fists and elbows. The first 3 fell before anyone could fire a shot. The fourth managed to pull his trigger, but she was no longer where he aimed. She grabbed his arm and used his own weapon to shoot 2 of his companions. Then she broke his arm and took him down with a knee to the face. The remaining guards tried to surround her. It did not help them. She was everywhere at once, striking from angles they could not predict. Her hands found weak points in their armor. Her feet swept legs and shattered joints taught in less than 2 minutes. All 12 guards lay on the floor. Some were dead. Some wished they were. Yuna stepped over their bodies and continued toward cargo. Bay 3. The prisoners looked up when the door opened. There were 73 of them, mostly humans. Men, women, and children from the outer colonies. They were thin and tired, their clothes torn, their faces marked with bruises. Heavy chains connected their wrists to the metal bars. A little girl in the front row started to cry. Her mother pulled her close and stared at Yuna with wide eyes. "Who are you?" The mother whispered. "Coalition Rescue Team," Yuna said. She pulled out a small cutting tool and began freeing the prisoners. "Stay quiet. Stay close. I will get you out." The prisoners stood on weak legs. They helped each other move. The children clung to their parents. Hope began to appear on their faces for the first time in weeks. Then the main door exploded. Inward, a Dominion captain stood in the smoke. He was tall and heavily muscled, with gray skin and burning red eyes. He held a plasma rifle aimed directly at Yuna's chest. Behind him, a dozen more soldiers filled the corridor. "Stop," the captain said. His voice was like grinding stone. "Release the prisoners and step away, or I will burn a hole through your heart." Yuna stood very still. She looked at the captain without fear, without emotion, without anything at all. "You can shoot me," she said quietly, "but you will still die." The captain laughed. "You are one small human. I have 12 soldiers and a rifle. What can you possibly do?" Yuna smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Watch." She moved. The captain's finger tightened on the trigger, but she was faster. She dove under the plasma bolt and rolled forward. Her foot kicked the rifle away. Her hand closed around the captain's throat, The soldiers behind him hesitated. They could not fire without hitting their own commander. Yuna squeezed. The captain's face turned purple. He tried to pull her hand away, but her grip was like iron. His eyes bulged. His body went limp. She let him fall and turned to face the soldiers. They ran. Yuna did not chase them. She turned back to the prisoners and continued cutting their chains. Her face showed nothing. Her hands were steady, but the little girl who had cried earlier was now staring at her with different eyes. The child leaned close to her mother and whispered something. "Is she a monster too?" Yuna heard it. Her hands stopped moving for just a moment. Something flickered across her face. Pain? Shame? Sadness? It was gone too quickly to tell. She finished freeing the last prisoner and led them toward the shuttle. Dalhan met them at the airlock. His face was pale as he counted the survivors. 73 colonists. All alive. All safe. Then he looked at Yuna. She was covered in blood. None of it was hers. "The mission is complete," she said. "Get them out of here." Dalhan wanted to say something. He wanted to ask her if she was okay. He wanted to hold her and tell her that she did not have to be this way. But the words would not come. Yuna walked past him and sat alone in the back of the shuttle. She stared out the window at the stars. The emptiness in her eyes was deeper than space itself. Dalhan realized something terrible in that moment. The Yuna he knew was disappearing. Each mission, each fight, each kill took another piece of her away. Soon, there would be nothing left but the violence, and he had no idea how to bring her back. 3 weeks passed after the Blackthorn mission. The Starfall traveled to neutral space for an important diplomatic summit. Representatives from 12 species gathered to discuss peace. Commander Rivik was invited as a respected voice for the coalition. Yuna stayed in her cabin during the meetings. She did not like politics. She did not like talking. She preferred the simple language of violence, but violence found her anyway. It was the third night of the summit. Most of the crew was asleep. Yuna lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. She could not remember the last time she truly slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the faces of her dead platoon. She heard their screams. She felt their blood on her hands. Then she heard something else. A soft sound from the corridor. Footsteps that should not be there. She was on her feet instantly. She moved to the door and pressed her ear against the metal. The footsteps were getting closer. They were headed toward the command center, toward Commander Rivik. Yuna slipped into the corridor. She wore no shoes. She carried no weapon. She followed the sound in complete silence. The assassin was good. Very good. He moved like smoke through the shadows. His body was wrong somehow. Too tall. Too thin. His joints bent at strange angles. His eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Gene modified. The Dominion created these killers in secret laboratories. They were designed for one purpose only. Murder. Yuna watched him enter the engine room. He was taking a hidden path to the command center. Smart. The security systems would not detect him there. She followed. The engine room was loud with the hum of power cores. Steam hissed from pipes. The light was dim and red. It was a perfect place for a fight. "Stop," Yuna said. The assassin turned. His face showed no surprise. His glowing eyes studied her like she was an insect. "Human?" he said. His voice was like broken glass. "You should not be here. Neither should you." The assassin tilted his head. "My mission is Commander Rivik. You are not my target. Walk away. I will let you live." Yuna raised her hands. "No," the assassin smiled. His teeth were sharp like needles. "Then you will die first." He attacked. Yuna had fought many enemies. She had faced creatures twice her size and 3 times her strength. But this assassin was different. He was faster than anything she had ever seen. His modified body moved in ways that normal bodies could not. His first strike nearly took her head off. She ducked just in time. His second strike caught her shoulder and sent her spinning. His third opened a cut across her ribs. She fell back. Blood ran down her side. The assassin pressed forward, not giving her time to recover. His hands were like blades, cutting and stabbing. She blocked what she could. She dodged what she could not block. But he was too fast. A kick caught her in the chest. She flew backward and hit a pipe. The metal bent under the impact. She fell to the floor and struggled to rise. The assassin walked toward her slowly. "You are brave," he said. "Stupid, but brave. It is almost a shame to kill you." Yuna spat blood. Not dead yet. She forced herself up. Her body screamed in pain. Blood dripped from a dozen wounds. Her vision was starting to blur. But she raised her hands and stood ready. The assassin stopped. Something like respect flickered in his glowing eyes. "You truly do not fear death." "I stopped fearing death a long time ago. Then I will give you what you want." He charged. Yuna waited until the last possible moment. Then she moved, not away. Toward. She stepped into his attack instead of avoiding it. His clawed hand punched through her side, but she was already inside his guard. Her hands found his neck. She twisted with all her remaining strength. The crack echoed through the engine room. The assassin's body went limp. His glowing eyes faded to darkness. He collapsed at her feet, his neck bent at an impossible angle. Yuna stood over him for a moment. Then her legs gave out. She fell to her knees beside the body. That was how Dawan found her. He ran into the engine room, with a medical kit in his hands and fear on his face. He had heard the fight from his cabin. He had run faster than he had ever run in his life. "Yuna." He dropped to his knees beside her and began checking her wounds. There were so many. Too many. He pulled out bandages and started working. "You could have called for backup," he said. His voice was shaking. "You had 30 seconds before I lost your signal." 30 seconds, Yuna. Why did you not call for help?" "I handled it." "You almost died." Yuna looked at him. Her eyes were strange, tired, sad, empty. Would that have been so bad? Dohwan stopped working. His hands hung frozen over her wounds. "What did you say?" "I should have died on Station Koryo." Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. 37 people died that day. Good people. Better people than me. And I walked out alone. I have been trying to fix that mistake ever since. Tears started falling from Dohwan's eyes. He did not try to stop them. That is not how it works, Yuna. Dying does not bring them back. It does not fix anything. Maybe not. But every time I go into a fight, every time I feel the pain, I think maybe this time will be the time. Maybe this time, the universe will finally correct its mistake and take me too. Dawan grabbed her shoulders. His grip was gentle but firm. You are not a mistake. You survived because you are extraordinary. Because you are strong. Because the universe is not done with you yet. Yuna's face crumbled. For the first time since Station Koryo, she let herself feel. The pain, the guilt, the loneliness. It all came pouring out. Dowan held her as she cried. The engine room hummed around them. Blood pooled on the floor. But none of that mattered. All that mattered was that finally, after all this time, Yuna was letting someone see her broken heart. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first step toward healing. Recovery was slow. The wounds on Yuna's body healed within a few weeks. The wounds inside took much longer. After the fight with the assassin, she started talking. First to Dawan, then to others. She told them about Station Koryo, about the attack that came without warning. about how she fought for hours while her friends died around her, about how she was the last one standing when the rescue ships finally arrived. She told them about the guilt, the terrible crushing guilt that followed her everywhere, the voice in her head that asked why her. Why did she survive when better people did not? Commander Rivik listened without judgment. Talos listened with understanding. The crew of the Starfall did not treat her differently. They simply let her talk. And that was enough. Months passed. Yuna began to change. She still trained every day. She still kept her body sharp and ready for combat. But now she did something new. She started teaching. Young coalition recruits arrived on the Starfall for training. They were nervous and eager, full of dreams about becoming heroes. Yuna watched them and saw herself from many years ago. Before the war, before Station Koryo, before she forgot what hope felt like. She taught them everything she knew. How to move, how to strike, how to survive. But she also taught them something else. Something she had only recently learned herself. Fighting is not just about winning, she told them. It is about knowing when to fight and knowing when to stop. Talos watched one of her training sessions from the corner of the room. His mandibles clicked with approval. After the session ended, he walked over to her. "You fight differently now," he said. Yuna wiped the sweat from her face. "What do you mean?" "Before, you fought like someone who was already dead. Now, you fight like someone who wants to live." His large eyes studied her carefully. What changed? Yuna thought about the question. She remembered the engine room, the assassin, the moment when she could have let go, the moment when she chose not to. "I realized something," she said. "Dying does not honor the people we lose. Living does. Surviving and making something of that survival. That is how we honor them." Talos nodded slowly. "That is wisdom, Yuna. Hard wisdom. But true." She smiled. "It was small, but it was real. I am still learning." Then the alarm went off. Red lights flashed through the corridor. Commander Rivik's voice came through the speakers. "All crew to the command center. Emergency situation." Yuna ran. Her heart pounded not with fear, but with purpose. The old hunger stirred in her chest. The desire for violence, for danger, for that edge between life and death. But now there was something else, too. Something she had not felt in a very long time. Hope. In the command center, the holographic display showed a terrifying image. A massive Dominion fleet surrounded a convoy of civilian transport ships. 10,000 refugees were trapped, with nowhere to run. "The convoy escaped from Dominion space 3 days ago," Commander Rivik explained. "They were trying to reach Coalition territory, but the Dominion caught up with them. They will be captured and returned to slavery within hours." Dawan stood beside the display, his face pale. "That is 12 battleships and hundreds of fighters. We cannot fight that fleet." "We are not going to fight the fleet," Rivik said. "We are going to disable it." He pointed to the largest ship in the formation. "This is the command ship. It controls the weapon systems for the entire fleet. If we can get someone aboard and disable the central computer, their weapons will go offline for at least 30 minutes. Enough time for the convoy to escape." The room was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Someone would have to board an enemy command ship in the middle of a hostile fleet. The chances of survival were almost 0. Yuna looked at the display. She looked at the command ship. She felt the old darkness calling to her. This was exactly the kind of mission she used to dream about. A beautiful way to die. Then she looked at Dohwan, at Talos, at the crew who had become her family. "I will go," she said. Everyone turned to her. Dohwan opened his mouth to argue. "But I am coming back," she added. "I want that to be clear. I am going in, I am completing the mission, and I am coming back." Dohan closed his mouth. Something like hope appeared in his eyes. Commander Rivik studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Good. Talus will bring you in close with the shuttle. You will have 20 minutes once you board. Get in, disable the computer, and get out. We will be waiting. Yuna nodded. Understood. The mission was chaos. Talus flew the shuttle through a storm of laser fire. Yuna jumped from the airlock onto the command ship's hull. She cut through an emergency hatch and dropped inside. Guards came. Many guards. She fought through them with her bare hands, just like always. But something was different now. She was not seeking death. She was seeking victory. She found the central computer room. She fought 4 gene-modified soldiers to reach it. She broke the main control console with her fists. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed. The weapons went offline. Across the fleet, Dominion captains screamed in confusion. Their guns would not fire. Their missiles would not launch. The convoy saw their chance and ran. Yuna ran too. Back through the corridors, back past the bodies of the enemies she had defeated, back to the emergency hatch. Talus was waiting with the shuttle. The airlock opened. She jumped. Strong hands caught her and pulled her inside. Dawan's face appeared above her, tears streaming down his cheeks. You are still alive, he said. Yuna smiled. A real smile, full of warmth and life. I decided I want to be. The shuttle flew back to the starfall. Behind them, the Dominion fleet fell into chaos. Ahead of them, 10,000 refugees jumped to safety. Yuna sat in the back of the shuttle and watched the stars streak past the window. She thought about her platoon, about Station Koryo, about all the ghosts that had followed her for so long. They were still there. They would always be there. But now she understood something she had not understood before. Survival was not a mistake. It was a responsibility. She had survived so she could save others. She had survived so she could teach. She had survived so she could love and be loved, and she was going to keep surviving. Not because she was afraid of death, but because she finally understood that life was worth fighting for. The Starfall's hangar door opened. The crew was waiting for her. Talus stood with his 4 arms crossed. Commander Rivik watched with pride in his compound eyes. Dohan stood in front of everyone, his arms open. Yuna stepped off the shuttle. She was covered in blood and bruises. Her body hurt in 100 different places. But she was smiling. She walked into Dohan's arms and let him hold her. Welcome home, he whispered. Home. She had not thought about that word in a very long time. But now, standing in the hangar surrounded by her crew, she finally understood what it meant. Home was not a place. Home was the people who loved you. Home was having something worth living for. And for the first time since Station Koryo, Yuna was finally home.